Welcome to the acclaimed podcast, The Deep Dive, featuring your esteemed hosts, Andy Monitor and Drew Dinzik, powered by BetSperts.
Welcome to The Deep Dive. It is the Monday after the Masters. It is a Monday that it's been a tough one today. I'll be perfectly frank. Not only was it a fun weekend, blowing off some steam. Way too many sports.
A lot happened.
Way too many sports. Way too many big events.
Great timing by us, because although maybe the belt events weren't, and they were minus 500 favorites, and that's life. But we did the UFC podcast, and we had a tussle.
Yeah,
like that was the one we talked about the most. That was, a lot of people were putting it up there like fight of the year. Just I said, it's good. I don't know. I don't watch them all, so I'll take your word for it. But it was very good.
Mm-hmm.
The Masters, obviously, always electric. All the NBA stuff coming down to the end of it, where we had a ton of. It's weird, all the seeding and like what's left to seed, like the Final Four in the East. The play-in tournament. Yeah. Baseball fight, like, oh my god, the Twitter sphere just lighting up with baseball touts all of a sudden. It's my favorite. It's like the Robins aren't what spring, that's not the harbinger of spring. It's the new baseball touts, coming out of nowhere. Although I bet a few. Did you bet any baseball? There's a few people in chat.
Our friend who's extremely good at it is.
So you had the Rockies.
I bet his stuff. Yeah.
And you have the Mets right now?
Yeah.
No. You would also have
Braves, right?
The Braves minus 1.5, I believe, we're sitting.
They've gotten out of a couple jams. But yeah, generally baseball's been a good solid start to the season. But you know what compounded the craziness today? So a million fucking sports over the weekend. There was racing on. There was racing here in Long Beach. We had the Long Beach Grand Prix. It was absolutely a super, super fun event. The NBA playoffs have now snuck up on us because I really wasn't kind of paying attention yesterday to how everything happened. Luka Doncic got hurt. Not sure if you saw that.
Did you see the update? No timetable right now. Not good.
Not good. Nothing about that is good. It's good if you have a Suns future, but that's about it. It was a crazy weekend. And to make matters worse, lost a little money on the Masters Calcutta. That happens. Bitcoin just in the absolute tank today, which sucks. People doom and gloom about the market broadly, which is not a great feeling.
It's bearish.
Hate to go through and trying to figuring out settling with Bitcoin this volatile, but it's just
settling on a day that it drops like 8%. I do have to call you out on some absolute just hypocrisy at the highest level on your part.
What?
Which at first I almost called you out for not doing this because you still Monday morning had your awesome, but I must say your awesome little whale Masters logo. I love that. Of all the whale logos.
Yeah, that's one. That's the best one.
Yeah. It is probably the top one. It's top 2 and it isn't 2.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, you're going to have to change it. And then I seen you change it. And again, it's a nice picture. But your hair is 6 inches fucking longer than that.
Oh yeah,
you either got to get a new headshot or you got to cut the hair. It's not even close. Yeah. It's like a bob, and you're like shoulder length.
You know what's funny is that I got a haircut last week.
I know, that's what I'm saying. And that was my follow-up. I thought you were going into the barbers.
I got a haircut, a layered long, whatever the fuck that means. I got some good tips on how to keep my hair from falling apart though, so that was good.
It was fun. It wasn't the best Masters for me. I had Rory to add to my pile of tickets for the last 3 years of second place to the major.
Christ.
I just needed like one other nice day to go. It has to drive him nuts that he had that in the bag. Like, I can do this, I guess.
Yeah.
No pressure on him. He plays differently. I understand how that works.
Surprise.
In his stupid brain.
Yeah.
But I'm excited for RBC. That's a good tournament this week. I'm loving just kind of tracking day baseball. Yeah. Turkish soccer's back right now. A couple of people brought up USFL, and I wanted to ask you if you had even a modicum of time, like if you spent a second looking at that.
No.
So
I saw it today for the first time that it was a thing.
My initial thoughts were, did Andy just block it out completely? Like, did some subconscious part of me say, no, because I've been hurt too many times by spending like 6 hours going through rosters and coaches and figuring out who can run a decent offense, putting together a nice future, barely getting anything on it because you can't bet a lot on futures on these leagues, coming out smelling like roses with the Apollos and the Roughnecks, and then watching the league fold for financial and or COVID reasons. So I don't think I could get hurt again, but I do wonder about some of these, the first weeks as we go through them. Sometimes these lines are awful wacky. Like we find out,
bad, I'm sure.
Oh my God, the totals were set 10 points high across the board.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Or like, oh, this team has a quarterback who's been playing semi-professionally somewhere, and this other team has got a guy that hasn't picked up the football in 3 years. I would say that the general, it does feel like the last two spring football professional leagues having been attempted so recently and failing, this is kind of just threw cool water on it for me in terms of even trying to figure out what was going on. Like I kind of just assumed this is going down the same road, but we'll see.
That's where I'm
at. And the sports world is so freaking crowded right now. As you mentioned, the UFC fights were great over the weekend. There was incredible racing. There was a bunch of other stuff that happened. The Kentucky Derby preps. Did you see all those happened on Saturday? Santa Anita Derby went on. The Bluegrass and Wood Memorial all bang, bang, bang out on the heels of Florida and Arkansas going, and Louisiana all going off. So we have our 6 warm-up races for the Derby in the bag. You need to start studying for that now. Prices are going to continue to move. I mean, there's even more. I'm forgetting other stuff that happened for sure. But the Masters, I wanted to get some of your thoughts and commentary on. Wasn't a
one quick final mention of the USFL.
Yeah, go ahead.
And again, I might dig in if we get lines up this week, because sometimes these totals are stupid high for these teams that just haven't put an offense together yet.
Sure.
And unless they give them a 5th down, or there's like wacky Canadian rules where they're going to run from 10 yards behind, the offenses tend to struggle early, I think. So I'm going to look at the totals and look at a little bit. But the only thing I saw all week was they essentially didn't have software set up, but whoever, I think it was Fox Bet, put it up, and they just did like run lines from baseball. They put all 4 games at -1.5 and just indexed them like -175 plus 220 or whatever. So I'm not so sure that's a market I want to be even thinking about until we get somebody putting up some serious lines. Masters questions though.
Yeah. The app was as good as it ever was. The tournament was a little up and down in terms of entertaining. In the pantheon of like Masters of my lifetime, I would put this one closer to like a 4 or 5 out of 10. I'm happy for Scotty Scheffler. It's very cool that he comes in as the newly minted world #1 of golf and then immediately wins the #1 tournament of the entire calendar. Like that's a cool thing that just hasn't happened. I think I heard the last time that happened was like 92 or something, that we had a newly minted world #1 Freddie Couples come in and win the Masters. And so that's cool that there's a little bit of a historical connection there. Didn't ever really feel like anyone was going to catch Scotty after Friday afternoon. And I don't love it when a tournament feels over after Friday afternoon. But
there's only one kind of person who enjoys that tournament.
And that's the guy that wins it.
It's the guy who has the best number on that. Like having Scotty tickets, it doesn't become that boring. Like I just missed out on some of those early numbers. So
sure, he was 40 to 1 before the Waste Management, right?
Yeah, the people that even during Waste Management, people were popping 35s. Like that makes it a lot less boring. But yeah, in general, it wasn't that great of a tournament. It's fun watching Jordan do Jordan. I will never not enjoy that. I'll bet on the guy too. I don't hate him. I'll bet on him when the time is right, but I enjoy watching his brain just turn into a pretzel and smoke start coming out of his ears.
Yeah.
I watched a couple like Billy Horschel, a couple of the people that are just absolute clowns on the, just getting mad at the course. I always like that. Rahm, even though Rahm isn't like a true hothead asshole, like watching him get mad at putts, like it's a difficult test. Scotty played his ass off. The last hole was kind of funny, just like, okay, how long are we gonna do this here? You only got like 3 more, and just maybe tap it halfway, Zeno's arrow here. But yeah, in general, and not only that, I don't know if people go look at my Twitter feed. I was super sick Friday.
Oh,
like,
really?
Just sick as it. Yeah, I just went black. Like, I was done. I didn't watch golf live at all Friday. Watched it all on the replay later on. Like, I was, which was at that point,
like like a stomach flu.
Yeah, I had a weird stomach bug. It was
went around.
I thought the house was. So I woke up in the 2 a.m. on Friday by a smoke alarm in the house.
Mm-hmm.
Which, good thing it woke us up.
Yeah,
no fire,
absolutely.
no smoke anywhere. So we just like, is it malfunctioning, whatever? And then I'm like, oh shit, it's carbon monoxide. And then we get a ladder, pull that one down. It's not a carbon alarm, it's just fire. So it's just malfunctioning. I don't know. It's 5 days later. The house still hasn't burnt down, I guess. But then yeah, like going back to bed, I'm like, I don't feel good. I woke up feeling way worse. But it was kind of a blessing for Saturday and Sunday because I was still kind of shitty, but like I was good enough to sit and drink Gatorade and watch golf for 2 days. So it was a nice weekend. It wasn't a bad weekend to be bedridden.
Yeah.
And I mean, the hole-in-one was awesome. A couple of those hole outs, even Rory's hole out late where it just didn't matter. It mattered to him. Like that stuff's just awesome to do that sort of thing to close up an awesome round by him. So
yeah,
I'll never not have fun.
Yeah. Okay. So a couple stories for you. The Calcutta went not great for us. Ultimately, we were losers, which is fine. We're still up on the year, which is enjoyable. But that kind of threw a little cold water on my enjoyment of the Masters. Certainly, don't want to lose money, but it did have some fun cheering for guys to suck, which was good. That's a fun way to watch golf. Actually, to cheering for a guy who's in the middle of an implosion to continue imploding. So 2 of the guys we got in the Calcutta, Peters,
yeah.
His round of golf on Friday was so bad. It was so horrific. I couldn't stop watching though. I was like, how's he gonna find a way to put it in the water on this one? And he did. And he did it again and again. And I was like, I was just so delighted watching Peters suck. And he finished the round 5 strokes worse than the next best guy who was in that side in contention for that side pot. This is a $10,000 side pot. Like this was like not trivial, like making back the bid on him. And
who dicked it? Wolf?
What's that?
Who won up to him?
So he had a 5-shot lead on Matt Wolf.
Yeah.
Okay. Matt Wolf was playing par golf on Friday until about the 11th hole, 12th hole, somewhere in there.
There's a stretch in that 12 that's tough.
He doubled 15, he doubled 17. It was like, how did you double 17? And like I blinked, and the 5-stroke lead he had on Wolf was tie, and Wolf was on the 18th hole. Wolf, beautiful drive, beautiful approach, 10-foot putt for birdie that would have clinched the worst side pot for Peters, and he just ran it by the hole. It was an awful attempt. Thank God he didn't 3-putt. We ended up chopping. We ended up chopping the pot as they finished tied for the worst score among the top 50. So that was huge. Then a more glorious story. We're tracking. We had Kevin Kisner as well, and Kevin Kisner was kind of in contention after 2 days.
Bogeys. Was he the most bogeys?
He was kind of in contention after 2 days, despite having 10 bogeys through 2 rounds. He was like hanging in there. And
he had some roller coaster
top 20
cards.
And by the turn on Sunday, it was clear Kisner was going. He was really, really going to be competing for most bogeys if he just got a couple. And then he gets a couple, and then I think we was on 15, and he was tied for most bogeys with Max Homa. And like 1 over Adam Scott, and it was just like, oh, if he can get 1 more bogey, like, we won't split the. I was like, we're splitting the pot now, but 1 more, and we got the whole pot to ourselves.
He got 2 more, didn't he?
No, he parred 15 miraculously, parred 16 miraculously, parred 17 miraculously, and we were like, "Are you kidding me? Like just one more bogey?"
I thought he had one more.
And then he 3-putted on the green on 18 and got us the bogey we needed. He finishes with the most bogeys for the tournament, and that was a nice $10,000. Help kind of save the. This is it was.
Well, no, I think he's asking a question. This is kind of a fun thought exercise for NBA stuff.
Yeah.
What's because I know we have it for everyone has kind of the same stuff for the March Madness tournament, whereas like losing by the most amount of points or losing by the most amount of points against the spread. Yeah. So what is it? This whole tier is asking what's a good side pot incentive to take a bad team in an NBA Calcutta.
Yeah.
Hopefully the NBA Calcutta is a 20-team Calcutta that's done tonight or tomorrow before the play-in games. That would make it more interesting for sure. Getting a bonus just for like qualifying out of the bottom 4 teams or something.
Yeah, if you're going to do an NBA Calcutta, you want to do it today because with the seeding question, like the net, like it's
just
the
seeding
market
in general.
Yeah, the market is pretty sure the Nets are going to win tomorrow. We'll get to that. But if they somehow lose and the Cavs go in as the 7th seed, the probability that the math for the Celtics is, I mean, they gain like 10% equity on winning the East if they face the Cavs versus the Nets, which is wild. But that's how fragile this stuff is. So there's uncertainty to today. A good side pot for a bad team.
Maybe getting swept.
Largest point differential.
Yeah, point differential for the series would be a fun because if you get swept, your point differential could be like -50.
Worst. It should just be cumulative worst point differential for all of the playoffs.
Maybe point differential for all the playoffs, point differential first round, and then worst loss. Just worst loss.
There
maybe worst loss tournament, worst loss first round too. That would be that'd be some fun ones.
Worst point differential for the first round, best point differential for the tournament.
Yeah, those are all
something
good
like
ones.
That. Those are fun.
Just whoever gets the shit beat out of them the worst in all the first round games.
Yeah,
like that's interesting. I think because it's not on a level playing field if you are you're taking into account some weird game that you're punting in the second round as you head home with a 1-1 lead or something. You have one of those games where you steal one on the road and it's clear you're not stealing a second one on the road. And you get to the third quarter and all of a sudden it's like, all right, let's rest some guys to get back home and take 2 more.
Here's a line that I'm struggling to come up with a price now, like over under 1.5 sweeps this year. I mean, there's not going to be a bunch. Everybody's kind of got some, presumably the Suns could sweep whoever's in the 8, but that team is going to have some life. It's not going to be a pushover.
No, Cleveland, Atlanta, any of those.
Chicago, I think your Bulls are the biggest likelihood to get swept at this point.
That might be sure than the Suns versus whomever.
I think it might be too.
Yeah, just looking at that price. Well, I mean, what would you make? And I'm sure there's hypotheticals already. What would you price the money line series price? Suns hosting Atlanta.
2 questions, right? Suns aren't going to host Atlanta because the Atlanta's in the Eastern Conference. So that's pretty unlikely.
You know what I meant. The slumber. No, the Sun. Yeah, Suns slumber puppies. Let's assume it's Clippers. Okay. Sorry. Let's assume the Clippers win as a short dog. Timberwolves dispatch Pellies or whoever.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a the Clippers and Timberwolves are close.
Yeah.
But then there's a fair gap between those 2 and the next 2.
Either
one of those teams would be like a 6-7 point favorite at home against Spurs or Pelicans, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Exactly. Suns. If the Suns draw one of those 9 or 10 teams, which is unlikely, then the Suns would be 12-point favorites at home, something like that. The money line price. The money line price.
Finals.
The money line price. For the money line price for the series would be Suns -2,500-ish, maybe more. My price for Suns Clippers would be in the minus 2,500 range. I think market's going to be closer to like minus 900, something along those lines.
How do you think that Tuesday night game it's not nice here yet. It's still not fucking spring. In beautiful Minneapolis turns out.
Great game.
We're just kind of all over the place, but I'm fine with it. Like
I'm really
curious.
Game. I think the Timberwolves are going to win pretty convincingly. They can play from ahead, and the Clippers like to start slow because who knows why.
Yeah, I don't watch any Clippers games because they're on so late. It feels like one of those where, if the Timberwolves just decide the offense works, what else is going to happen? Like, what do you do? You can try to put up 140 against them, I guess.
Yeah.
That's what you need to do.
Yeah.
So healthy, rested, home.
As long as the Timberwolves go into that game decide we need to score 140, then I think you're good. Yeah. Don't let him back in.
Finch resting on his laurels after a contract extension.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah.
What did you decide on over 1.5 sweeps then?
Well, that's where I would price it.
Yeah, it's probably a sharp price then.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be close calls all around. I don't know that. Yeah, other than the Bulls right now, we're not looking at any likely sweeps. I can tell you.
Yeah, like Philly, Toronto is going to be a war. Golden State, Denver should be good enough. Where, I mean,
do you want a final thoughts on the Masters and then talk NBA?
Yeah. Let's
Scott, tell me about Scottie Scheffler. His reign as the best golfer in the world will last how long?
It might be a while, man. He is unbothered by the success. He is unbothered by yips, little bumps in the road. This is what we saw from Patrick Reed when he won the Masters. He had some bumps in the road in that 4th round. He put some tee shots way out in the pine straw. He had some tough shots to make, and he's a different kind of person. Like I don't want to compare. Scottie Scheffler seems like a nice guy. I hate to put him in the same conversation, but like that mentality of just, he gave some shots back here and there. And again, he had a big enough lead where going from, a 6-shot lead to a 5-shot lead maybe wasn't the biggest of deals, but he just bounces back. Beautiful tee shots, even though like his follow through on some of his swings looks like me out on the driving range, like where he just twists himself around, can't keep his feet under him. This is the greatest golfer in the world. That's the beauty of, I think, golf. It's not like there's not like a right way. I mean, there's plenty of wrong ways to swing a club, but so many different beautiful swings and so many different guys making it work in different ways. Even some people's stupid hip triggers they throw before they hit the ball. And like he looks kind of dumb after he swings sometimes when he falls out of it. And it's still it's like, just middle of the fairway, 325. Okay. Or his second shots are just electric. Like if he's gonna hit the piss out of the ball with that amount of confidence and his second shots are working like that, and the putting is fine. I mean, it's a place where if you're rolling it, it's pure shit and you're just gonna roll fine. Yeah. So I'm fine with him being a long-time fixture at the top of these leaderboards. He's young. He's won 4 freaking times in 2 months. You know how much money he just made?
Yeah. So some of the wins, again, I'm struggling to come up with a fair on him entirely and first of all, let's shout out our guy Calhoun, Link Calhoun, who we had come on. What a weekend he had. I feel like
he was Ropat Gang before Ropat Gang was
and I feel like every guy he had a great price on was in contention, and that was, he had Smith, he had Camp Smith, he had some Zalatoris, he had everything that ultimately guys that were in contention. So great job by him. The general reason I'm struggling, because you're right, he was unflappable. He made some up and downs that were ridiculous. Like he made some par saves or made some up and downs for birdie on the par 5s that were like no one else was doing that this week. He was the only guy
at a place where it's very difficult to do that sort of thing.
Yeah,
and I talked about it. I think I said this on Brown Bag, where it's like, all right, he won the fun tournament. Like we've seen some weird winners at places like that. And then he won at a hard tournament. And then he won in a weird format, and now he's won it against a super high-end field at the hardest damn course. Like, just keeps it's the tennis metaphor. He just keeps consolidating his serve.
Yeah.
It's like, well, he is up a triple break right now, and I don't see how he messes this up. I would love to see him take a good healthy break. I don't know if he'll play in the team event. I'm not sure if he has a Zurich team. I'll have to look into that. But yeah, Dan points out in the chat here, it is a weird variety. Phoenix, Bay Hill, match play, and the Masters. Like, just all over the place, like all kinds of stuff in the belt all of a sudden. And last year, again, our guys Brinson, our guys Cal, me to a much lesser extent, I didn't have the confidence they had. I said, this kid's going to be good, but these guys were, they were sure, like, he's going to be good now. And just a pop like this is wild. You haven't seen stuff like this. I don't want to ever compare anybody to what Tiger did when he first came on, but like, just people that come on and just like start winning in gobs is always something that obviously takes a lot of notice. So excited to see him at 3 more majors this year. And he's Ryder Cup next year.
Yeah.
A lot of other fun events to watch him. And Dan says he is listed on the Zurich Classic website as playing with Ryan Palmer.
Okay. Well, so far, I still do feel like there's been a lot of ball bounced his way. We'll see if he we'll see if he puts up another major this year or not. I don't know that he will, but congratulations for this one. This was incredible. It was very cool to see him pull it off. Before moving on to basketball, I will answer Signed Collectibles question because he's asking the good questions, the right questions. The Monte Carlo Masters, the first Masters 1000 on clay of the season, if you don't count Indian Wells on clay, which you should not, because
purple clay.
The Monte Carlo
Miami
Masters is going off. Yeah, I knew what you meant. The quarterfinals look like a collision course between Alcaraz and Djokovic. Alcaraz is going to be a small dog in that, and he is going to win. I will be blown away if Djokovic gets there.
He has his hands full in his next match with Fokina.
Yeah, and he'll have a tough one in the third round, and he'll have a very tough one on his hands against Alcaraz in the quarterfinals. I'm excited for that.
Goffin is a wild card. That's funny.
Yeah. Well, Goffin's coming in as a title winner. He just won. Morocco.
No, that's what I'm saying. He's and it's a wild card, but he probably comes out of that section.
Oh, this is cool price. That's a fun way to play it. Eliminated in quarters plus 200. Alcaraz, if you bet him in that moment, he'll be plus 130, 140. Any other player against Djokovic is going to be plus 900 or something. So, yeah, I think
Fokina's only about 6
to 1. Basically 2 to 1 on that price for Joker to be eliminated in the quarters is plus EV by about 50 cents.
Did you get a chance to watch Stanimal?
Yeah, I wish
he looks like he has it.
I know. I wish he had won though. Well, like to see him get some more reps. He's not playing enough.
He looked tired. Like he had it.
That's what I mean. He needs to get some reps before he gets to rolling.
Get on the treadmill. Like he just well, it's not like
he's trying to play his way into shape. You can't do that if you're losing.
This is true. A 3-set match is probably the best thing for him. But and God knows if he'd have won, who'd have knows what we'd have seen in the next round? Like just absolutely gas stand. And he's getting up there in age too. But
good point.
He was it was fun watching him play well for part of it.
Yeah. No, but the whole men's tennis is in such a good place right now. This is going to be a great tournament. No Nadal, but everybody else who matters.
Well, just some of the matchups that you have early on. Rublev Demonauer is a 16th finals.
Sick.
This is two rounds ahead of a quarterfinal.
Tsitsipas Fanini is going to be good. Yeah. Cam Norrie versus Ramos. Ramos is a favorite in that one.
Did you watch the Schwartzman video?
No, what happened there?
I'll show you later.
Okay.
He just loses his shit on an official. The judge comes down to show him a ball mark, and he just starts high voice screaming at him. It's good. It's very
Mighty Mouse,
enjoyable.
man.
Yeah, it's just my favorite part of clay court tennis is just two men pointing at the ground and screaming at each other in a foreign
'Cause
language.
You're looking at the wrong ball mark, obviously.
Yeah, no, that's not where it hit. That's not touching the
That's
line.
great. Okay, let's get into the NBA a little bit. Let's crack open some thoughts on this play-in and then the playoff field in general. Andy, where do you want to start?
The play-in games that start tomorrow, the 7/8. So
Okay,
heading to
good ones.
Barclays?
Good
Barclays.
ones. Good ones. Two good ones.
Target and Barclays, two brands that are almost the same.
Mhm.
Clippers 3.5-point dogs, Cavs 8.5. Is it a foregone conclusion? That's the question on the Nets ones.
Mhm.
How can the Nets screw this up?
Well, they're not very good. that's as a team.
I didn't know
as
if
a
you'd be that
team.
blunt.
As a team, they're not very good. And it's not like the Cavaliers are world beaters. Cavaliers have been very lean late in terms of healthy bodies. And there's not a lot of experience, obviously, because of the young, the nature of their, roster is relatively inexperienced. But the Jesus Christ.
So what's going on?
Yeah, this might be important. You got two back-to-back calls. Okay. But yeah, no,
Do you need
it's
me
not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to talk NBA while you take a phone
Yeah,
call?
talk a little NBA. Go for it. This might be an emergency. Yeah, this might be an emergency. Go ahead.
Is it work or is it just...
No.
Oh gosh.
No. But no,
that's
general
even worse if it's an emergency.
Yeah, generally thought no, I don't think it's completely a foregone conclusion. In fact, I think Cavs are the right side at 8.5, but we shall see.
All right, Drew's gonna take a call, and I'm trying to think of the movie where the guy who's clearly not set up to talk about something has to take over. That's kind of what we're looking at here. So Cavs, 8.5. I'm not betting either of these. I already told my daughter to wash her sweatshirt, get her Timberwolves gear in. We're going to get some popcorn. We're going to watch the Timberwolves, let her stay up late. Hopefully they win. We can get some tickets to the first series, but I'm never hopeful. I've never been sure of a Minnesota victory in any sport ever, even when we're massive favorites, going all the way back to me attending the Vikings game against the Bills when Josh Allen was a very young man, where they lost by 25 as a 17-point favorite. So anything could happen here. The Timberwolves could absolutely lose. It's a closely lined game. So obviously, what's the money line here? Setting at -150. So anything goes. I think they get it done against either of the other teams. Again, they should be out. They get an extra day rest. Whoever wins between the Spurs and the Pelicans will have one fewer day's rest. They'll have to head up to Minnesota from, is it in New Orleans? Punt School might have to help me. Break and anchor, man. Patrick nailed it. That's exactly what I was thinking of when they throw it to him. But yeah, it'll be in New Orleans. I think San Antonio's the 10 seed, correct?
You got it right. New Orleans is hosting the San Antonio Spurs in absolute ridiculous fashion. The Lakers played their way out of the plan, and this is now Pelicans versus Spurs. Again, not a lot of respect for the dog here. Not exactly sure what New Orleans has done to warrant being 5-point favorites. Spurs relatively full strength. Dejounte Murray is a superstar waiting to happen. Greg Popovich knows how to coach still. This is a total coin flip. In fact, in my opinion, both the Wednesday games ought to be lined closer to a pick'em than they are currently lined. I don't think any of those teams deserve 5-point favorite respect.
You know what stinks is when I type in sportsbook, it doesn't go to sportsbook.ag anymore. It goes to sportsbook. FanDuel, because I use that to look up golf odds. I'm trying to get over there to see what they have on this one, but I think I'm going to bet that then. I think I'm gonna take the Spurs at that price, and then hopefully they don't have to come to Minnesota. Hopefully they have to head out to LA as Minnesota gets things done. Twins are winning though. Look at that. I did want to segue there. You talked Lakers. I don't even really want to get into the bullshit that we had over the last 3 days with Waj blowing up Vogel's spot. Like they haven't told me shit. Then obviously it's Waj. Like he knows. They did tell him shit. He's gone. Possibly moving into another spot. People have already talked about him just going up north. Like there's an opening just a few hundred miles north. Sacramento. I don't know if that's a fit. Maybe I'll get your take on that after this. But the Russ Westbrook comments today are puzzling. I mean, just the team construction and then his contribution, his fit was weird anyway. So I don't know why he's speaking out. My main Lakers take was lunchtime today. I finally had some free time because it's not Masters week. I didn't have to eat while I was working. Started watching the Showtime or the Winning Time show.
Oh, yeah? Loved it.
Way good. Like John C. Reilly is murdering that. It's so good. And it's the little girl from, everybody's in it. Danny Noonan from Caddyshack is in it. You've got the little girl from Field of Dreams. It's like my whole childhood is like in a movie all grown up. And a lot of good actors. The guy who plays Magic's great. So that is the high point of the Lakers for sure right now. I'm super excited to keep watching those. And it is funny that they flamed out, and especially Noops had, I can't remember what his biggest number was, where for Lakers to miss the playoffs, I feel like it was 15, 18, something stupid like that, maybe 12.
15-1.
Yeah, 15. I think he had a 15 on that. So really kudos to him for watching that train wreck all year and finally not even having to sweat out. Like, I think he just assumed I'll just have to sweat out a couple of games in the play-in tournament if they play poorly, and maybe I can hedge out a little if I really worry about it. But also Xavier Baltazar, good point. Garth and Wayne's World. That would be the other one when Garth has to host all by himself. That's fair. I think he did have a 20-1 at some rogue book, but mostly a lot of 15-1s in the market. Noops cleaned up on preseason stuff. He had a lot of Memphis overs, Memphis to make the playoffs, Memphis regular season win totals. He had Toronto to make the playoffs to win the division. Dan made a nice graphic over there. I think I hate to most pick on Atlanta, but Atlanta's defense didn't come together this year the way anyone had. I mean, it wasn't, I guess, expected to be a defensive juggernaut, but Atlanta kind of scuffled, didn't quite get there. Still a team I like.
Really? Just based on the star power of Trae Young?
I don't like his haircut, but he's awful fun in the playoffs.
Okay.
I like a good villain. Like what he did up in the Garden was fun to me, especially just because fuck the Knicks. Like, that's just fine. Like maybe I think that's what endeared me to him. I didn't like him in Oklahoma. Yeah. I didn't really like him. I respected his game, but the stuff he did up at the Garden, that takes balls. It's the Garden. I don't care who you are. You're a young
He's been a better pro. I'll give him his shine. He's been a better pro than I expected. He's consistently going to be kind of in that sort of third tier, all pro sort of, he'll always kind of be in consideration for all NBA third team guard. Maybe he makes the leap to first team at some point, but I don't think you can teach I don't think you're going to teach that old dog how to play defense anytime soon. And that's really a huge liability in this game, like massive. In fact, it depends, like you can only put certain players on the floor to make up for that. You can't have two non-defenders. He's got to be the only guy in the same way that like a team like the Nets, I don't trust entirely because they're almost always going to have one or two non-shooters on the floor. And that's the problem. So it's, he demands a certain type of player around him, and when he is playing at his best, he can elevate that team to beat anyone in any given night. I don't think they are good enough as a team on average, though, to be warranting 5 points favorite status against the Charlotte team that, they can't defend the rim to save their lives. They have no size. They have no center. They have to play small ball. But it's not like Atlanta can really make them pay for that. Atlanta's going to get a lot of easy baskets at the rim in this one, but this is going to be a game that goes in the lexicon of NBA, Andy's favorite phrase is it's a game of runs.
It is a game of runs.
This is the game of runs of game of runs. Like there are no two. If I were to give you an in-game volatility score on every team in the NBA of allowing their opponents to go on 15-point runs and going on 15-point runs themselves, these are your top two most volatile in-game teams, and they're playing each other. So this one's going to be fireworks for sure. And I think you take a pregame position on Charlotte with the points, and then you grab Atlanta +4 or whatever it gets to when they're down by 12 at some point in the second half.
I'm tempted to wait for a lull, see if we can get a total in the 220s as you get some frantic playing in the second half.
This one's going to have a lot of so if you wanted me to qualify games in game states, Cleveland Brooklyn has taken a good amount of money to the under, and that is warranted because almost all the game states there, except for Cleveland winning with margin, lend themselves to an under. Okay, the only one that's an over game state is Cleveland beating the Nets soundly, which I just don't see happening, or it's the least likely to happen. The Charlotte Atlanta game, that one really screams to a fourth quarter over. Like there's going to be a lot of scoring late in that contest. Neither of those teams is giving up anything. Both of those teams are playing to get to 141st.
I like that. That's my favorite kind of game.
If there's a lull, the scoring is going to go nuclear.
The best. You want to know the best basketball game I ever went to?
What's that?
It's a Globetrotters game. That's how all basketball should be played. Like we should just everything should go in all the time. Honestly, if you've never gone, you should go. That's so fun. They're very good still. They still make a lot of shots. I'm down with that. I might look for a fourth quarter over, a live over in that one.
Yeah,
I'm just because I'm taking so many down so many dark alleys and off so many
in the blind
here.
In the blind about game state. Whichever team is losing going into the fourth quarter, if you were to tell me they ultimately, they score 40+ points, wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't
balls
that both of them kind of fit that exact like that's in their DNA. Sure. So there'll be some big time points in late.
Not NBA playoffs thing, but it gets me thinking. And I don't know that the actual.
I was going to tie. Sorry. Let me just tie one more thought into that,
because this is a way different thought. I'm going way off track.
I forgot where I was going with bringing up the Nets game first. That one's taking money to the under. I agree with. The Hornets game is taking money to the under. I think because people are like, oh, it's an elimination game. It's going to be, it's a lot of points. No, they're expecting it to slow down and be a grind, and every possession having, all this intensity late. Not these teams. No, none of them has that kind of, we're going to grind this game to a halt because every possession is so important late in the contest. The Nets have that kind of in them. The Hornets and the Hawks do not.
Like the fourth quarter of an All-Star game where it's just like, oh, they just turned it on here.
Oh, now we're
suddenly play defense.
Oh,
so and that was my question about Atlanta. Is it an issue with the front court that they can put around him that's fixable, or is it just the front court's fine? We just don't have enough depth to constantly be rotating in good defenders to make sure you can play 40 minutes without being a huge liability.
Well, the players that they have in the front court are good, not great players.
Sure.
They have lowish ceilings. John Collins, Clint Capella have lowish ceilings, and neither of those guys is making up for the defensive woes of Trae Young. You need a dynamic defender who can play, who can help defend and kind of take roles and responsibility of the best shot creator on the other team themselves. And DeAndre Hunter is the guy that they have that was supposed to fulfill that role. But Hunter's problem is that, number one, he hasn't been able to stay healthy, so he hasn't been able to do that, be that dynamic defender. And number two, he is a little bit of an offensive liability still. None of his offensive game has really come along to the that warrants where he was drafted. So he's somewhat one-dimensional and isn't really giving them anything pop-wise offensively. Like a player like Jaylen Brown would be the absolute ideal, perfect fit alongside a Trae Young because he can carry his own offensively and because he does provide that defensive role.
Well, I'm just looking at like Sport Track trying to rebuild this front court. Like, what if they just added Middleton, Porzingis, and like Draymond Green next year? Just all that. I just went off the top of the list for player option people. LeBron's a free agent. I don't know if I'd want him. A little long in the tooth.
He probably has a player option.
He's unrestricted,
right?
Baby.
Is he?
So Middleton has a player option. I wonder if he moves.
Yeah, really. DeAndre Hunter has not been as good defensively as they had hoped, and he's bringing nothing to the table offensively. So it's just not a perfect, not as ideal a fit as you need along Trae. But when DeAndre Hunter's not even out there, and they have like Gallinari and Bogdanovich on the floor at the same time, that team is probably 0th percentile team defense in the NBA.
Gallinari free agent after this year.
Ooh, okay.
I saw him on my list too. Okay. Interesting. So and again, we already mentioned, let's throw the Nets out. They're a weird team who, again,
let's just assume that they're in the 7, and that's fine.
Let's assume the Nets are in the 7, and it is a good series. Of the other 3 teams that make it in, I want you. Who are your other 3 teams that are in? Like your highest likelihood other 3. I have it
almost equal between Cleveland, Charlotte, Atlanta. My numbers favor Atlanta a little bit over Charlotte, and then I am a little equal between Atlanta.
Okay, well, I mean, let's just use all 3 of them and stop there.
I think Atlanta is probably would be my play there. If you said somebody has to get through,
no, I'm not even talking about betting on who makes it in. I'm talking about if you make all 3 of those teams fairly equal, say fuck it, we can use all of them.
Yeah.
Any of them, even remote challenge for Miami?
All 3 of them, gentlemen swept.
Okay. Kind of what I was thought there. The 7-2 could get interesting if the Nets suddenly realize they're a super team that can figure things out. Although bad matchup because the other team is kind of peaking for the last few months.
Yeah. And it's a horrible matchup in general. Let's talk about Celtics Nets for a second.
Yeah, let's just stay in the East.
You know what else is funny though? I was going to bring this up when you asked me if the Nets had a chance, but then I got distracted. I mean, if the
Cavs get like 5 phone calls.
Yeah. If there are basketball gods, they are going to want to reward the Celtics in some way for pushing and trying hard and getting the 2
the last 70 years of not having any success.
No, for this year,
40 banners they have
for this year and playing their way into the 2 seed by winning.
Right? Yes, I guess.
Would it not? They could have done what the Sixers did and play their way into the 4. They could have done what the Bucks did and rest everybody on the final game of the season to make sure they were in the 3 and get the. You know what the difference between drawing the Bulls round 1 and drawing the Nets round 1 is in terms of your ultimate win probability? It's massive, massive.
30%.
It's a big swing, and it's a net 30 probably because it's probably So it's massive, and if there are basketball gods, they may reward them with the Cavs because of that, but there probably are not, and they probably won't, and so it'll be Nets Celtics. And Nets Celtics is interesting because the only difference between these 2 teams playing now and when they played back in March on that really, really good Sunday game that the Celtics won by 6.
Oh, yeah.
Where the Celtics closed a 6-point favorite, it was basically against this exact team as constituted. The only moving part really is that there's no Robert Williams now. And I don't know that Robert Williams is a guy that really makes it or breaks your series against this Nets team. He matters a shit ton round 2 against the Bucks. But if he doesn't come back for the round 1 series, it doesn't really move the needle a ton for me in their ability to get past the Nets. So the question then is, if the Celtics are 6 points better than the Nets at home, as currently constituted, how much of a favorite are they going to be for the series? -200, -180, like certainly looking at the futures prices right now doesn't reflect the idea that the Celtics would be favored in that series. But I will be blown away if the market doesn't open with them in the minus range. And it's going to be low, particularly compared to my numbers and against most computer models. Almost all these other teams with models out there, see what 538 has them, and some of the just the generic. I mean, it's not anything to believe in necessarily or buy into, but they, everybody that is just using a team level top down NBA model has the Celtics as the team to beat in the Eastern Conference. And I'm not there. I'm certainly better than the market.
Yeah. Do you think they don't take path into? I mean, I was going to say path or matchup, but it's kind of the same thing. Path is matchup because you have to. The path is based, or how you value path is based on the matchups along the path. So you think that is missing some context, or just weighted lightly? It's just, it's just a general, like, here's a power ranking of these teams, and the Celtics are sitting here, whereas it's like, hey, guess what? They would probably have the Bucks, and that's hell on earth for them in the second. Just I don't understand why you think. I was about to say, well, you're so damn smart, but why these models are so high on the Celtics and you're not?
Okay, so it's a degree, it's a magnitude. These algorithms are completely unhinged from the market. Number one, okay, don't look it up. What but you can look at an odd screen. What is the percent likelihood that the 538 Raptor model makes the Celtics winning the Eastern Conference as of today?
Oh, I don't have to look this up because I've never would look at this. The Raptor model. So
this is a player level model that they're using.
Okay, so I'm assuming it's going to be high because of how we've talked. So like 35%,
49% to win the Eastern Conference.
It's a pick 'em.
Yeah,
I felt bad. I was going to not say the 5. I was going to say 30.
Yeah.
There's so many good teams.
Hang on. That was their player level Raptor. Okay. Now, how about their ELO forecast? That's the team level top down.
So it's 60?
67%.
So that's wrong.
It's not right. It's definitely not right.
So the part where I'm like, hey, why are you so smart? Well, just because you can tell that's not
I'm like
right.
a few percent. I'm a few percent over market. This is absolutely outrageously high over market on all this stuff. And nobody obviously takes this seriously. I mean, we've made jokes about the 538 model on the eve of the playoffs. It's an annual tradition to post these numbers and be like, what are these guys doing? This is not the first time.
When the Warriors were at the top of their game, they had them at like 4% to win the title or something.
Of course.
Something ridiculous like that. So
this is in the same ballpark. So basically,
I don't want to get too deep into the playoffs, I guess, because we're sitting. Yeah, we're 50 minutes deep. I don't know if I want to get into second and third round matchups.
Well, let's answer Josh's question at least. Okay. Market opens Brooklyn above plus 100 in that series, given their likelihood on that. They're likely holding that to win the chip.
That's the other part of the equation. If certain books have massive liabilities on a longer number,
we asked Jay about that last year when we talked, previewed this playoffs, and he told us that they did not take those into account. And we've had other bookmakers tell us that they are not taking their preseason hold into account. They are literally trying to price series based on they work forward from game price to series price, not backward from what is our liability look like. And so there will be massive uncoupling of those markets.
There's three things, and at this point where we sit on April 11th, you're never going to make all three things married. You'll have the game by game money pot, whatever the tote. Should we call it tote? Are we doing horse racing?
Sure.
You'll have the series price money, and then you'll have all the future book series price money from before. And if you try to adjust your series price stuff based on your liability from before, You're going to have a hard uncoupling from the game by game stuff.
Yes.
And
yeah.
if you
can't do it that way.
And
you can't.
And if you leave it this way, you may have an uncoupling from the future book stuff. But I think, again, and it's been confirmed by all these bookmakers that say this, I think that's the lesser of two evils in this case. And you
100% agreed.
You book it like that stuff is, and again, it's not the same, because there's a lot of money at stake, and it's not just, hey, we should forget about stuff that happened in the past, but it does kind of come down to like sunk costs. You can't change what you did, how you booked your future book for 6 months. You can't let it affect what you're doing in the biggest handle month of the year for the NBA.
Exactly.
So I think I'm fine with that.
Also, in general, your futures book has enough margin built into it that it should protect you from that. Like the series game stuff, you can get arbed for sure. You can get arbed, especially if you're taking big old limits on that stuff.
Yeah, when you have a 4% overround, it's a lot easier to find another book with a number that overlaps when you have 30.
Okay, so I would expect that in general, the opening price for Celtics, Nets, I think the market's going to come in around -140, and I think my fare is going to be closer to -180. That's my guess. So I'm probably going to have a bet on the Celtics in Series 1. Now let's talk the strategy a little bit about the Eastern Conference. There are 4 teams that realistically can win 3 playoff series and go to the finals, in my opinion. I am excluding Philadelphia from this. I've seen absolutely nothing that tells me Philadelphia is capable of keeping it together and winning 3 playoff series. The dance.
Can I try to name them?
The 4 that yes. Go ahead and name the 4.
Bucks,
yes.
Suns.
No. I'm talking about the Eastern Conference Finals.
Oh,
yeah, 4 teams.
I'm down to 4 for those. Right? Well, probably Bucks, Celtics, Heat.
Celtics, Heat, and
Bucks, Celtics, Heat, and
the Nets.
I mean, are we going to put the Nets there? I guess they have enough players. Whatever.
They have enough strength.
I'm putting an asterisk by them. I'm at 3.5. Yeah.
So 4 teams, okay? And the math is, and the margins between any of these teams, pretty small. How I rank them and how you rank them and how he ranks them and how she ranks them doesn't really matter, because the margins are really narrow between those 4 teams. So if you want, for this thought exercise, to just assume each of them has a 25% chance at the Eastern Conference or a 50-50 chance in any given series between these teams.
Will you book me on that for the Bucks?
No, I'm just saying. Okay. This is a thought exercise.
I know.
Only a thought.
I was going to say the Bucks are favored, right? I haven't.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. The Bucks are less than 25%, is what I'm saying.
Yes.
Okay, but just for
not
this,
by much though.
It's close. They're close to
much.
25, and then everyone else is like 4.5, somewhere in there.
So this is to answer Ryan's specific question. Never liked Philly. Heat love is out of control. I'm not even saying I love the Heat. This is simply a math example. Okay. The way that the playoffs are situated, if the Nets get the 7, the Nets are going to have to beat all 3 of those teams to get to the finals. The Celtics are going to have to beat all 3 of those teams to get to the finals. The Bucks are going to have to beat 2 of those teams. The Heat only have to play 1. It was an absolute perfect, again, assuming that the Nets, hopefully this lives longer than 24 hours, but assuming the Nets win the 7-8, the Heat have avoided all of the other major competition for that series, for that final spot. Now,
whereas the Sixers would have to likely go the weird Toronto series.
Challenging series against Toronto. Yeah.
You're going to be shorthanded in Toronto for stuff we want to. I'm not even getting into that again. And then probably to Miami.
Yes.
And then it's likely Celtics or Bucks in the final.
One of those teams. Yeah.
So that's tough sledding too.
Even
if you throw Raptors out, you have to beat the 2 best likely.
Yeah. Yeah. The path alone is so much more favorable for the Heat than any other team in the Eastern Conference. And currently the future prices don't reflect that at all. I think, and so basically I don't even have advice about who to kind of lean into between these teams. Like your best bet is really to bet series by series, game by game, unless you love the Heat, in which case don't be stupid. Just bet the futures and let chaos ensue on the other half of the bracket.
Bet Heat Suns exact final.
That's a fun one. That's a really fun one. And so, I think realistically, the value in the futures market because of path is on the Heat right now. But if you don't want to screw around with, trying to get out of that position down the road, you can bet these teams series by series. You're going to make a much better price than the futures price. And the Heat the Nets are the classic example, but the Celtics fall into this as well. Celtics price series against the Heat, small favorite. Celtics price favorite against the Nets, small favorites. Celtics at home against the Bucks, they're going to be dogs in that series price, but it'll be small. Celtics on the road against the Heat, that'll be a pick'em series. Parlaying those three, that will get you a better price on the Celtics than you can get in the futures market as we sit here today. Same goes for the Nets. Same goes for the Bucks.
Yeah.
If you just parlay the Bucks in the semifinals and the finals, I think you're going to do better than the current price that's up there right now.
Yeah, those are tough series against teams that are not that far or their peer. Yeah,
you'd be small favorites in both.
Just
those
because
series.
I've been bumping around 6 different sports books as we talk, trying to find props and stuff on this. Do you believe there's any fire behind the smoke of the Nick Nurse to the coast? He's favored at, these are small limit prop bets. I think it looks like I can bet $25 on this at Nick Nurse plus 250. But any inkling on who grabs that job?
Our friend Brett Tholomew nailed it. Nick Nurse's agent wanted a raise.
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah,
it's the Ford versus Ferrari thing where they sell the Fiat. They just get Ford to come over to bump the price up.
Yeah, I think that's a good comp. I think our other friend Spoon
sick all weekend. I watched a lot of movies after that.
Our other friend Spoon is on it. It's probably Doc Rivers. He's probably done in Philly. And
if they flame out to Toronto,
he might be done regardless.
Yeah. Just such a great facial expression out of that man, though. Yeah. Every blank stare is such a good GIF.
Yeah. So anyway, the other problems with Philly, the coach is not going to get you a Game 7 win. The team is thin behind Embiid. Harden is closer to washed than he is anywhere to the player we saw carry the Rockets to playoff success in any way, shape, or form. And the bench in general is absolute garbage for that Philly team. Like, my God, I know that the rotation shortens in the playoffs, but not enough to avoid having those players on the floor at some points in time. It's going to be a problem. So, really, Philly Toronto is going to be a really good series.
If the Heat make the finals, just not looking at prop markets anyway, who'd be the likely finals MVP if they win that one?
Probably.
I mean, you got Bam at 33, Jimmy at like 18, Hero at 25. I don't know if I like any of those. Maybe. How many minutes?
Kyle Lowry, probably. Lowry's going to get some love. Lowry's a pretty fucking good player.
I don't hate that. Lowry's 40.
That's a good. That if you think the Heat win, that's a good bet. I mean, Jimmy Butler is going to have the stats. Jimmy Butler gets the counting stats. He gets his.
Yeah.
He may not be a great pick, though, in the betting market because of the potential for injury.
Or the fact that they just lose 4-2 to the Suns.
That also.
and they just give that it to, a hobbled Chris Paul. I can see that. All right. Okay. To the West. So we've established
Well, real quick, I'll give you series predictions on the first round one of these. Ready?
All right, go ahead.
Heat 4-1 over the Hawks. Celtics 4-1 over the Nets. Bucks 4-0 over the Bulls. Sixers 4-2 over the Raptors.
Ooh, I have that one going 7. I bet the over in that one.
Then Raptors 4-3 over the Sixers. It is
just massive coaching mismatch.
Raptors 4-3 over the Sixers if it goes 7.
Yeah, I have it just going 7. I don't know who.
You almost have to bet Raptors in that series now that I think about it, because if it goes 6, it's in Toronto.
Well, Noops made a good point. 7. He said, he just said, he really, despite how much the 76ers have let him down, and I think he's become quite the realist on this team over the course of the last month. He's like, really don't see them losing the first game at home.
Oh no, I love the Sixers in game 1.
That's what he says. So he's like, why would I bet
That
Toronto
price is
series
4.5
price
right now. It should be like 6. Yeah.
Well, that's what he said. Like he's
Yeah,
I'm going to bet Toronto to win the series after game 1.
Yes. Okay.
He's like, or the Brett pointed it out too, and after Noops brought it up, Brett does a lot of price shopping for us while we're on Brown Bag Bets, but it was the win game 1, lose the series prop at like 4.5, 5 to 1, something like that. So those are some spicy meatballs. And Holt just brought it up right now. The win game 1 and Toronto win series 450. That's you can do it ahead of time if you want, I guess. So that's a fun one. I had the exact same prediction, so I won't bore you with doing mine again. So as soon as the Raptors get to 2 wins, Philly's in deep fucking trouble, because I don't think Philly's winning 6 or 7. They almost need to get it done in 5. Embiid's got enough in the tank though to get him, I think. It's a big
to
dude.
The next round, I think.
All right, Western Conference
in the bubble too, and it didn't happen.
Suns are very good.
Yeah.
The Grizzlies very good. You know who thinks so? AD has some big prices on the Grizzlies preseason. Says I'm not a believer. I missed it. I can't read every golf chat thing, but he's team Vancouver is what he's calling it. But I have to cheer. Yeah, if the Timberwolves win, I have to cheer against the Grizz for sure. But is that a team that could bounce the Suns?
You know,
I mean, yes, is the answer. They're good enough, but like,
there's a cognitive bias for this, I'm sure. But my numbers might say that the Grizz are the right bet in the Western Conference at the current prices, and I'm still not going to bet them. Because I'm just not going to, I'm willing to miss out on team makes their first ever completely unprecedented run to glory without having absorbed a few playoff series losses to learn from. Does that make sense? Do you know what I'm trying to describe?
I don't know who the fuck Taylor Jenkins is.
Taylor Jenkins, the coach for the Grizzlies?
Yeah, I had to look him up just now.
Do you not recognize him?
No, I just I've heard the name, but like when I saw the picture, I'm like, I'm not sure I've ever watched a Grizzlies game and seen this guy. I don't know. I wanted an opinion on him, but I didn't know the name of the coach, so I Googled him. Is this his first NBA head coaching position?
Yes.
Yes. He was an assistant with the Bucks.
For the Bucks, yeah.
And an assistant with Atlanta, and then he was with the Austin Toros. That's a fun little squad. That's the Spurs G League.
No, so the answer to your question about the Grizzlies,
we will accept Rex Chapman jokes.
I don't. The Grizzlies. What this season was a victory for that franchise, and if you're buying a long-term future on the Grizzlies, there's no price that's correct. Like they're gonna be a factor for a title. They may run the West in a couple of years. Wouldn't surprise me. But I need to see them go through the struggle of how you adapt to a 7-game playoff series and come out the other side successfully before I believe they can do it against a very tough path in a very in their first ever try. Right.
And that's where I was wondering about the series, or the outright prices for the West. I get why the Suns price is where it is. Probably, honestly, a bad price. Like, I don't know. Do you think it's close to a pick 'em? Just real quick, snap judgment. Okay, so it's fairish, if not maybe even a little short.
Yeah.
But the fact that the Grizzlies are your third favorite because of, I don't know, probably just the experience of the other squad and the fact that the path would be, your path would be whatever, Minnesota or the Clippers. And then, you'd go Minnesota, let's just say Minnesota, Golden State, Phoenix. even if it's just like 5 games, Minnesota's a pain in the ass team to play.
Yeah. That's not a great path. They're going to run into challenges that they have to deal with in Series 1. Presumably, they solve those. They move on to the Series 2. At that point, your season is a grand success. You'll probably lose to the Warriors in the next round, assuming Steph is healthy. Assuming Draymond Green is healthy, I think you lose to the Warriors. Warriors Suns.
I mean,
feels
I
like
think
the
this is
NBA
right
Finals.
though. Like you're right, but this is still the right. If you had to make a play, that's the only one I could click on.
So
there's no way I'm clicking on a team at plus 105 to win a conference right now. Golden State with the injury concern, and again the matchup against Phoenix, whatever. Dallas is 13-1. The Jazz are not in a place. Maybe the Nuggets. The Nuggets or Memphis would be the only things I could possibly click on. The correct answer is I'm not clicking on any of them.
yeah,
There's nothing I want to bet, but
it would be a fun way to get a big plus money price. Get like Suns playoff losses in the West under 3.5. I could see them drop one game.
People will hang those. Those will be up yet. I like those.
Like they'll drop one in round 2. They'll sweep round 1, drop 1 in round 2, and then 1 or 2 in the Western Conference Finals. They're going to have the rest advantage and home court, which matters in every series.
Are you saying they might rally the Valley?
Yeah, I do. I think so. I think
We
they're
didn't
going
really
to rally the Valley.
We talked play-in a little here. Again, same question. Clippers, Wolves, Pelicans, Spurs. Do any of those teams matter?
No.
With teams like the Suns. I mean, just the Suns hanging out, ready to take out one of them.
Wolves are going to be a tough out. I think you said that correctly. They're streaky. They're healthy. I don't see why they couldn't take a couple of games, or they might put. I could see them pushing Memphis to 7. Honestly, I think that one is a kind of game where kind of series where you get a big, nice price on Minnesota to win a couple of those, or you just bet them
series game handicap plus 2.5,
series game handicap
plus
2. Yeah, you're going to get a nice price there. The Warriors are a tough handicap right now because their youth is playing well. Jordan Poole's playing well. Kuminga's playing well. Draymond Green, in my opinion, if he is available, if he is able to bring the level of quality that he had in the fall against the Nuggets are absolutely in deep trouble. That price I have mispriced. I think the Warriors ought to be bigger favorites, but I'm assuming Curry is available for game 1, and there has been no confirmation of that. Have you seen anything on Curry?
I'm still looking at more props. What would you price Suns Bucks final?
Suns have home court -120.
Okay. I was going to say I didn't think it'd be would it be closer to even against the Heat, or maybe a little maybe 130?
Suns Heat. Suns are going to be -2.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The anchoring of the Bucks beating the Suns 4-2 last year is going to keep that closer to pick 'em.
Does anything they do in the playoffs matter for that? Like
for the Bucks, yeah.
Well, I mean, outside of injuries, the Bucks struggle to get to the finals. But I mean, it's a bunch of 6 and 3s.
Bucks limp there. Giannis doesn't look anywhere close to who he looked last year. Maybe they get downgraded.
Okay.
Anything else? The Bucks come out of a very challenging run in the Eastern Conference. They're going to be given a very, very decent chance to beat the Suns. Excuse me.
But I mean, the same thing with the Heat. The Heat just truck stick Jimmy Butler's looking like, God. We could end up with a better price there. I don't know. I was looking at a who wins East or West kind of price to see what you thought of some of that. It's just pick 'em.
I'm going based off memory about the way that the series opened last year,
and
then adding a few cents to the Bucks because they won last year. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it was minus 140 plus 120 last year. I'm going to move it 20 cents closer to the Bucks because they won last year. That's what I'm guessing the market opens. For the Heat, I think you can open it in the range of Lakers Heat from the bubble. If they get there. People are going to believe in, well, good job, Heat. Now you get a real test.
Are we completely throwing that bubble championship out, like you said? I believe you called it the clown ass Mickey Mouse championship. I just saw Ski in the chat, so I threw that in. I just want to shit on the Lakers one quick time there. I'm kidding. The bubble. I love the bubble season. That was one of my favorite seasons. We had basketball all the time, like in the middle of the day. It was great.
Yeah.
I have
Ski crowning the Bucks. I'm not crowning the Bucks. I think there are warning signs all around this team. I think the market is way high on them. I had a long conversation about this today with the Bulls series. Like, I'm not betting the Bulls. No, thank you. Like, that team is just, they're not here to play in the playoffs. And it's not, they're not right now. This is the bottom half of the NBA team. So I'm kind of hoping that the Bucks sweep them so that the kind of the misprice and the overrating of the Bucks carries into the next round against the Celtics. Because if you have the Celtics in a home playoff series against the Bucks and Robert Williams is healthy, the Celtics should be favored and they're going to be dogs. That's my thought.
Yeah. Ryan brings up a good point too. I just didn't think the gap was that big. I know the futures prices are what they are, but I don't know.
It's a big gap. Yeah, it's a big gap.
And
perception, especially the Giannis factor. A lot of people still do this, and it's somewhat fair. Like, who's the best player in the series? It's Giannis. Bucks are going to win, right? Like, that's a lot of people play the NBA playoff series that way still.
Is Ja better than? I don't know who's our best player.
No,
I was putting it on the Timberwolves one.
Oh, Cat.
No.
Cat and Ja. Who's the better player? Oh, that is a fucking hard one.
It's not an apples to oranges thing. They're such different. I was gonna go Taurean Prince. He's my favorite guy.
I have Cat as better.
All right. Ja or D'Angelo Russell. Do we have the three best players in that series? Ant, Cat, D'Angelo, Ja.
Ja's number 2.
I'll give it to you.
Ant and D'Angelo Russell are 3.
I forget
JJJ is 4.
On this team. Naz Reid. I had to pull up a roster just now. All right, anything? I can never remember. The
Timberwolves.
names.
The Timberwolves closing 5 is good. Like, that's a good 5. You have versatility. You have shooting. Vanderbilt's underrated as a power forward, in my opinion. I have him rated pretty well. Yeah, no real obvious terrible. Like the Timberwolves are going to be a hard out. They just are, and I think the Timberwolves beat the Clippers pretty soundly. My personal opinion. I also think that Kawhi. Other predictions to put on the record.
Yeah,
Kawhi done for the season.
Good.
Jazz probably beat the Mavericks without Luka. That just bums me out. That
is a bummer because
this was a big important year for the Mavericks to finally win a playoff series, and this is fucking it up.
Yeah, that stinks.
Don't love it.
Just as I don't have much liability on anything. Anything I have liability on, I've added during the show. So I just want to see good playoff. I just want to see good playoff series.
Well, the last time we did one of these, and we were adding all that stuff at the halfway point of the season,
we bet all that Heat shit. Yeah, remember for the bubble.
Heat, and at the All-Star break this year, I was thumping for the Hawks price. Hawks win total was too low. They made that. They coasted to that. There were some other ones.
Bulls under 49.5. That cleared by 3.5.
Oh shit! The Bulls were 49.5.
Don't you remember? You should go watch that episode and find the spot. Your face when I said that was pretty funny. Like, you were surprised. So, all right. Anything else?
It's tough to miss by that much on it when you have that much information about a team. They missed the Hawks and the Bulls badly. That's right.
Any last thoughts before we start the play-in?
I mean, I would. It would be funny and predictable if the Jazz win a playoff series and talk themselves into running this team back after they get swept by the Suns 4-0. You know, like that would be funny if they like won a playoff series win against the Mavericks team without Luka is enough to keep that nucleus who hates each other together. That would be entertaining for an NBA fans and gambling standpoint. So I would like to see that. I'd like to see one game where Jokic just goes absolutely bananas against the Warriors and wills them to like 138, 136 win in Denver. But that Warriors series is 4-1, in my opinion.
That's a very Denver score. Like it seems like all the old timey games that had like it was the old school Denver teams from like the 80s.
Yeah. So for round 1 predictions, Suns in 4 over the Clippers. I'm gonna have Grizzlies over 4-3 over the Timberwolves. That's the most competitive series in round 1, I think. And then Warriors 4-1 over the Nuggets, and Jazz 4-2 over the Mavericks.
Final thought: when did they vote on the MVP?
Ballots were due today.
It was due today.
Ballots were due today. Every NBA, every vote for MVP, DPOY, you name it, is in the books today.
When do they announce
Price Waterhouse Cooper has got all the ballots in their possession.
Isn't that the advertising firm from Mad Men?
Price Waterhouse Cooper?
Cooper Draper, Sterling Cooper Draper Price?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jokic probably won.
Jokic won the MVP as far as I can tell you. We're gonna find out. So they
when do we find out? Yeah, when did
we asked somebody about this? They try to release them during the playoffs now. They did this last year.
I don't hate that.
2 years ago was the stupid COVID break, and they did the awards in July before the bubble. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
They truncated the season, gave the awards, then they started.
Then you had the 8-game season, then the bubble playoffs. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. The year before that, they gave Giannis the MVP in August after this, or like it felt like it was the end of June. It was the end of June. It was way after the finals were over. It was awful.
It's taken them 3 years to get like the schedule back to where it was.
Yeah. Yeah. This year, I have heard that they're going to announce them as the playoffs go on, and they tend to try to align them with a home playoff game for the winning player. So like the Nuggets, you probably only got 2 home playoff games. They're probably going to do it next week. Yeah. Right.
Let's just get the Heat one out of the way.
Yeah.
Let's not cash that. So
yeah, that Tyler Hero 6th of the year. Anytime they want to announce that, I'm fine.
I would just like to reinvest that money. Yeah, AJ brings up, remember betting win totals in the 8-game season. Those were hilarious. Those caught a lot of steam too. I mean, those were all over the place.
6.5.
Yeah,
I didn't get that number.
I got a 6. I remember feeling blessed about that. like this is silly.
I think they won 2.
It was not.
It wasn't close to 6. So. That's for sure.
Memories from the bubble. So I'm jacked now. I'm jacked for the play-ins. I'm jacked for the playoff series. Jacked in general. Yeah. We'll have some more talk. We'll get a good playoff guest. We'll do some more draft talk next week. Maybe I'll look at the USFL. Definitely gonna bet a bunch of RBC Heritage this week.
Yeah.
And with that, I don't know. Anything else, Drew, before we call it a night?
The Bucks did go 2-6, by the way, in the bubble.
Yeah, good memory. I knew it was 2 or 3. I didn't have an argument for 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's all good, man. Good shit. Well done. NBA playoffs. Let's fucking go.
My hair's rough. Got a good chuckle out of Dan.
So you had stomach food. You get down to your goal weight?
How long? Oh, God, no. It's still not bikini season. Dan and I have been working together probably for a year almost now.
Yeah.
We still haven't nailed like Andy stopping talking.